When it comes to recommending horror movies, I try to be as fair and balanced as possible. However, I will admit when it comes to low budget found footage films, I'm maybe a little bit more lenient towards those because I know those guys are trying their very best. They just don't have the budget to make their vision come true. Okay, I actually have two biases. My other bias is if there's some sort of attachment to Scotland in their film, I'll also be much more likely to hype that movie up. So in saying all of that, I just watched the new low budget found footage film from Scottish director Graham Hughes. Graham previously bought us Death of a Vlogger, which is a very good found footage, either ghost movie or a prank movie. You need to watch it to find out for yourself. Hostile Dimensions is definitely Graham's most ambitious film yet. The film opens with Emily being filmed by the excellently named Brian as they enter an abandoned building. Within that building is a door attached to nothing in the middle of the room. While Brian keeps exploring, Emily opens the door and looks inside. Off camera, we hear her screaming and Brian rushes back. Emily is nowhere to be seen. Years later, a documentary crew has found this footage. They've decided that for their next documentary, they're going to try and investigate what happened to Emily and whether what we saw on camera was true or if it's a big hoax. I don't want to spoil any more of the plot, so here are some objective thoughts I had. On the good side, this film does a lot with its very short runtime. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. There always seems to be something happening and I never felt bored. A lot of other lower budget found footage films could take lessons from this. And when I say this film is ambitious, I really mean it. It has a huge amount of interesting set pieces that we get to see every time somebody steps through the door. I also love that this film is very clearly Scottish. A lot of the words that are used in the script are common words, however they're said in the Scottish way, and it tickles me a little bit that there's cinema goers in the US watching this that probably have absolutely no clue what some of these words mean. But to keep it fair and balanced, there are some negatives to this movie for me. Most obvious one is the special effects here. That's where the lack of budget is most clearly exposed. But I still personally found it kinda charming how they look. To give an example, my favourite ever found footage director is Koji Shiriashi from Noroi the Curse, Occult and A Record of Sweet Murder. All of those movies are fantastic, brilliant stories, but the CGI in them is objectively awful. So what I'm trying to say is, if the story's good enough, personally, I can forgive bad CGI. I would also say that the reveal we get during this movie probably isn't that hard to figure out, especially if you've ever seen any other movie. Ultimately, I had a really good time with this movie. It's a filmmaker that's grabbed a bunch of his friends, no money, and just tried to make something creative and unique that other people will want to watch. And for that, Graham, you have my full support. In fact, next time you're filming, if you're in Scotland and you need someone to look creepy and just stand around in the background, I'll happily volunteer. Feel free to drop me a DM on Instagram. And finally, a question for you all. Have you seen Hostile Dimensions? And if so, what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below.